You followed our battle plans and we're enjoying battle victories. A few weeks ago, we had a special battlefield update about significant progress in 4 critical areas. We talked about how Chinese economic warfare has been exposed. We talked about how the deep state rats in the intelligence community have been outed. We talked about how President Trump is addressing the thrift savings plan of the United States. And we talked about a new grid protection executive order. Well, victory begets victory. We have 3 new areas that we've been working on for a very long time, but we're now seeing successes. We're going to talk about stopping the flow of American capital to the Chinese Communist Party, addressing the risk of Chinese control of 5G, and restarting American manufacture of critical pharmaceutical supplies. Let's start with the first one, and that is literally defunding the Chinese Communist Party. Over the past decade, we've been warning that the Chinese were using our capital markets to fund their ambitions. They raised something like $3 trillion in the stock markets and the debt markets. They brought forward Alibaba, a $25 billion initial public offering, and they used our money to buy up a lot of Silicon Valley. And we talked about some outright frauds like Luckin Coffee. Dan David in the movie The China Hustle have pointed out all these frauds that have been perpetrated on American investors, how they've been exempted from our accounting rules. And John Solomon recently in Just the News wrote an important article, and I want to read from it. It says, since 2013, Chinese companies have been allowed to participate in U.S. stock and bond markets without having to fully comply with the same Sarbanes-Oxley Act accounting practices and risk disclosure required of American companies. The concession was made in a little-noticed Memorandum of Understanding that was executed 7 years ago by the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board. You've probably never heard of the PCAOB, but they really do monitor the accounting practices of all listed companies. Well, this is a nonprofit regulator empowered by Sarbanes-Oxley to ensure U.S. investors are protected from making bad investments because of faulty audits or financial information. Now, this agreement, it was signed in 2013, was reached after Chinese leaders pleaded for improved access to American capital markets in multiple meetings with then Vice President Joe Biden. Transcripts from the Obama administration era show this. According to Solomon, Biden hosted current Chinese President Xi Jinping, then Beijing's vice president, at an event in August 2011 where the Chinese leaders urged that the Obama administration eliminate the interferences of trade and investment protectionism in American markets. In other words, they didn't want to play by our rules. Biden penned an op-ed rejecting the notion that China posed a threat to U.S. supremacy and urging Americans to invest in Beijing's success. That's something he's done over and over. Remember the, come on, man, they're not a threat to us? That was Biden. Continuing to read from Solomon. Some here and in the region see China's growth as a threat, entertaining visions of Cold War-style rivalry or great power confrontation. Some Chinese worry that our aim in the Asia-Pacific is to contain China's rise, Biden wrote. He said, I reject these views. I remain convinced, this is Biden, that a successful China can make our country more prosperous, not less, he added. Within 18 months of that meeting, the memo was signed. That was the same year that Joe Biden took his son, Hunter, on Air Force Two and took out what may be as much as $1.5 billion of Chinese money. What makes this so dangerous? Over the past 7 years, we put trillions into China. We buy their shares. They get our money. We get outright frauds in some cases. Or in the best of cases, we just get shares in a variable interest entity from the Cayman Islands.